it's everybody's favorite holiday today, which means instead of doing my usual Facebook long, drawn out posts that nobody reads or really gives a shit about, I'm going to do a short live stream and just address this dumb shit. It is Columbus Day, or Indigenous Peoples Day, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And this is going to be extremely short because there's not a lot for me to say about it. The outrage every year is that we're celebrating Columbus Day. This guy who was the bane of Native Americans' existence. Number one, Christopher Columbus never, at any point, set foot on the United States of America. Never. He had absolutely nothing to do with the native indigenous peoples of the United States. Period. And one of the things that so we can, that like Native Americans who live here saying fuck Christopher Columbus. Why? What did he do? What did he do to you? He never even came here. One of the things that, like, he's made out to be this monster, and this is something that happens generally speaking when looking at historical events, is in modern society we place historical events in a modern current lens of what is socially acceptable. It's done with the Bible a lot, but all historical events. I mean, the Civil War, slavery, everything gets filtered into this: what is socially acceptable in the United States today, and it ignores historical relevance. It ignores the actual times. It ignores the context of what was going on. And so when you look at that time period when Columbus came and found the islands and discovered the New World, which has something that's been pointed out previously as well, is the Vikings, the Scandinavians. They had already come and found like North America, so it wasn't like this was a real new discovery. But for the European powerhouse nations, this was a new territory for them to start taking advantage of. And that was the age, that was the time, that was what they were doing. All of these countries were in their imperialistic expansion phase of, we need to grow, we need to expand, we need to conquer more territory, we need to find new things and have more stuff to grow our power and our reach in the world. And so, like, that's what everybody was doing. Like, you can single it out and say that Columbus was this terrible guy because of what he did in the Caribbean islands, but every single country had people who were going out and doing that literally everywhere, all over the world. It wasn't an isolated event. It wasn't like they were specifically targeting these people. And it's not like the things that they were doing were, as unfortunate as it is, they weren't unusual for the time. Like, they weren't being unreasonably barbaric. They weren't exploiting people in a way that wasn't kind of par for the course. And while I agree that is terrible, historically looking back at it, that it was done that way, it was par for the course at the time, is the best way to look at it. So, like, yes, we can go back and, hindsight's always 20/20, and you can look at stuff and say, yeah, that was terrible. But at that time, it was not. It was what they did. And it wasn't anything that was like grotesquely out of the ordinary. I mean, it was not good, but it is what it is. Like, and that's the problem that we run into with all of this like cancel culture bullshit of removing historical figures and looking at the past through the lens of the present. Is it divorces it from what was the reality of the situation at the time. So when we're looking at Columbus Day, like, do I think that Columbus Day is a holiday that we should celebrate? I don't know. I don't give a shit. It doesn't fucking matter. I've literally never at any point in my life had a job that I actually got off on Columbus Day. I mean, the federal government comes up with any and every excuse to create a holiday so that they can continue to get paid without having to actually work. So all these federal holidays, they're all just a fucking game that's being played so they can do less and still get the same. But like, we should maybe not celebrate the person, but that doesn't matter. It was what he represented in that part of history is what the holiday is meant to look at. And demonizing an individual who was merely doing his job, that goes to a level of like cancel culture dumbassery that I don't understand. Like, what's the purpose of demonizing Christopher Columbus, somebody who's dead for 800 years, 600 years, however the fuck long it's been? Yeah, probably 600 years. Like, why demonize that guy who did nothing to the actual indigenous people of North America? Like, yeah, he ravaged some islands and did some crazy shit, but he did the shit that they always do. Everybody in that time period who traveled for the purpose of empire expansion did the exact same thing. And should we go back through all of the history books of literally every explorer, every expansionist that ever lived, and cancel all of them and rewrite their history to make them out to be monsters? Obviously, the answer is yes. If you're woke, progressive, cancel culture mob, that's absolutely what we should do. But to put literally any level of thought into Columbus Day or Christopher Columbus beyond it was a dude that did a thing that he was hired to do, and it led to basically what we have today as far as the United States, because it was the kind of the kicking off point of Western expansion across the Atlantic Ocean. That's it. That's his significance. We don't need to demonize him. We don't, and like, nobody at any point has ever, at least not as far as I'm concerned or aware, has ever done any like level of hero worship or made Christopher Columbus out to be some heroic figure. It was a guy that did a thing, and the thing was historically relevant and set things in motion for what the world has become. And that's it. And Native Americans saying fuck Christopher Columbus, that's dumb. Like, why? He literally had nothing to do with you. But fuck Andrew Jackson. That's but Columbus had nothing to do with it. So let's try to have a happy Indigenous Peoples Day and just ignore all the bullshit and maybe think about the historical relevance of a guy that kickstarted Western expansion for whatever year that ended up being. Have a happy Monday. Go check out today's episode where I talk about a political article where where the advisors to the Biden administration have been trying to tell the administration that the boosters are not a good idea and to stop pushing it. And I do a little bit of a review of the 8-hour FDA panel on boosters I also talk about some other stuff, masks and vaccinations themselves, variants. Obviously, there's some good information in it because YouTube took the video down in less than 30 minutes. But you can find it on my Facebook page or Odyssey, BitChute. Look for Fact Check This Podcast, and there it'll be. Hope everybody has a good Monday, and I will be back on Wednesday to talk about... I gotta find it. I knew what it was earlier today, but I forgot. It happens. So yeah.